Good evening, y'all. Welcome to my first um, Ryan's rants about Habs. Honestly, eventually I'll come up with a better title for this if this ends up being something I do quite a bit. But this will be my first video. Also, obviously, the video quality is not the greatest. I'm also walking home from work currently, so that's why you'll see me kind of look all over the place. You know, make sure nobody's giving me a weird look, we'll say. But more so make sure the traffic's not going to come down and hit me, or I don't run into anybody. So the first topic that I kind of wanted to hit on was Brendan Gallagher. This is a guy that's been, he's been my favorite player, or at least the very least one of my favorite players for probably about a decade, honestly. He was the first jersey that I got of the Montreal Canadiens after becoming a fan back in the early 2010s. Well, technically the first jersey I got was one my brother somehow purchased for $20 on a trip to Montreal. It was a Maxime Lapierre number 40 jersey, and I still remember that one. I still have it somewhere, I just can't find it. But for 2014 at Christmas time, I got a jersey of a guy, again, who's been one of my favorite players, if not my favorite players, on the Montreal Canadiens for, again, now about 10 years. I also added a jersey patch to that, of course, in the summer of 2021 when we went on quite a special run. The reason I want to talk about Gallagher is, I just... as much as I hate to say it, but it's obvious at this point. The guy's overpaid. However, I don't think it's to the extent that most people think, including myself, without thinking about it. Because he's actually having a phenomenal season. This season, at the very least. Or a phenomenal start, we'll say. This season, he's on pace for 17 goals, 32 points. Through 23 games. I mean, it's a small enough sample size, but at the same time, I think, you know what, and this could be a huge exaggeration, but at this stage of his career, if we're getting 30, maybe a little more points at a Gallagher, and with all his leadership abilities, again, you can call me crazy if you want, but to me, that's worth $3 million. $3 million. It is. And for a guy who, honestly, over the past couple of years has, he's been hurt a lot, but he's really been probably a $1 to $2 million quality player, as much as I love Gallagher. The reason why I say this year he's worth, with what he's doing thus far, he's worth $3 million is because, again, he's on pace for 30 plus points. He's on pace for 17 goals, which, 5 years ago, we'd be talking like, oh, what's wrong with Gallagher, 17 goals? But the biggest thing is I really, truly believe that the heart of this guy is worth probably $1.5 million on its own, maybe. Yeah, honestly, $1.5 million on its own. This guy, I mean, we all know it, is someone who gives every last ounce of what he has, every blood, sweat, and tears, every time he's out there on the ice. And that, to me, just can't be... I mean, it's hard to properly value that, but at the same time, it's worth at least $1 million. Probably $1.5 million, I would say. We're talking about a guy who's not afraid to get in the dirty areas. He's a guy who can pump up your team. He's a guy that can... He's been the heart and soul of this organization, along with, of course, Carey Price for a long time. Now, of course, it's kind of passed off to our boys in Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. But at the same time, for guys like, and I was thinking about it not long ago, for guys like, Raphael Harvey Bedard, sorry, stealing that from Hockey Junkie, but who's, Gallagher Jr. essentially, we're hoping. Jesse Alonin, trying to think of some other guys that are, young forwards on this team. Alonin, Harvey Bedard, even Slavkovsky to an extent. The leadership abilities and the things that Brendan Gallagher can teach to these guys at the NHL level is, to me, it's hard to put a number to that value, but it's valuable. It's valuable. You know, he can teach them how to be a pro. He can teach them how to, you know, I mean, they're getting front row seat to watching this 30-some-year-old man go out there every day and work his ass off, give everything he has. They're going to learn that that's the secret to success in the NHL from watching Brendan Gallagher. You know, he's just, the things that he brings to this team is just incredible. So, you know what? And honestly, Brendan Gallagher, he deserves, maybe not $6 million, but he deserves his money. He's paid his dues to this team. He paid them and has paid them for, you know, a decade. Is it really that big of a deal that we're paying him $6 million? There's worse contracts in the NHL. Jack Campbell. God, Darnell Nurse has got a brutal contract too, doesn't he? You know, it's just, as much as he kind of deserves some heat for his contract, I don't like that he gets as much as he does, because this guy, again, is someone who gave every last ounce of what he had every minute he's been a member of the NHL. So I'll always love Gally. I know all of Montreal will always love Gally. All Habs fans across the world. And just tired of the shit. Also, if you want to see a bad contract, I didn't really think of it, but Josh Anderson right now. As much as I still love Anderson, that's a bad contract. Alright, so yeah, this is going to be my first of hopefully many videos on the Montreal Canadiens. If you like watching a awkward late 20s man talk about the Montreal Canadiens, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you, and maybe I'll see you in the next one.